Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of More to Explore, where Mike and I get to hang out with all of you, keep you up to date with everything happening here at explore.org, and get an opportunity to explore some topics and just learn a little more. Today, we're featuring the Orca Lab cams because they are in peak season. Bit of a gloomy day this morning, but definitely check out these cams because they are in peak season. And there never seems to be enough time to answer all of the bear cam questions for the brown bears and katmais. So we're going to take a little bit of time to answer a few more of those today. So let's get to it. My name is Brian Bird, and joining me today is your favorite bear's favorite naturalist, Mike Fitz. Mike, how you doing today?
I'm doing well, thanks. Good afternoon, everybody. Good morning, good evening, wherever you happen to be. We're happy to have you along for the show. If you're new to explore.org, welcome to the community and welcome back to all of our longtime viewers. We are the world's largest live nature cam network with about 190 live cameras all over the world. For each More to Explore program, Brian and I like to remind everyone to ask questions if you have them, so please do so. But later in the program, I want to try to answer 2 or 3 questions about katmai's brown bears from our live audience specifically. So post those in the comments. If you have any burning questions for me about brown bears in Katmai National Park, let me know. We'll be looking for them. But yeah, right now, Brian, we're going to turn away from bears and we're looking at orcas.
Yeah, because we want to take the opportunity because, Mike, last week you hosted a live chat about bear culture and personalities with Naomi Boak from the Katmai Conservancy that was very popular. And that program, you mentioned orcas as an example of non-human species that with distinct cultural differences among different groups. So what can you tell us, like, let's touch on that a little bit more. So what can you tell us about that and relating to the orcas that we can see on the Orca Lab cams?
Right. That program last week was focused on bears, so I didn't dive deep into the culture of orcas. But Orca Lab in British Columbia offers us a chance to witness some of the influences of culture and learning on orcas, which are otherwise known as killer whales. This is peak orca watching season on the Orca Lab cams, so the opportunity to watch them doesn't get better than now. In the nearshore waters of the Pacific Northwest, there are 2 orca ecotypes. So these are the residents and the transients. The latter is also called the Biggs orcas, Bigg, so big with 2 Gs. Physically, the transient orcas, they tend to have taller, straighter dorsal fins, and maybe grow larger on average than resident orcas. At first glance, though, you could mix them all together and you could be like, oh, yeah, these are just killer whales. And assume they'd occasionally intermix even. But when we investigate further, these populations maintain profound cultural differences. Culture is learned, it influences and shapes behavior, and its application is often unconscious. This is as true in humans as it is in orcas. All orcas live in matrilineal groups that consist of a mother and her offspring. These are stable, closely bonded, lifelong associations. Cultural traditions among orcas are learned and passed down from mother to offspring. For example, resident orcas are fish eaters who primarily target salmon. They can be noisy when hunting. Transient orcas eat marine mammals. They hunt with little vocalizations to avoid alerting their prey. There are further divisions as well. Significantly, orcas can be differentiated into clans with unique dialects. Separate clans, for example, do not share calls, even if they might socialize with each other. Finally, certain families display unique behaviors. Our cam at Strider Rubbing Beach captures footage of northern resident orcas repeatedly visiting submerged gravel beaches where they can rub on rocks. And this is one of the most spectacular, I think, scenes that we have on explore.org, and really one of those unique moments that you can't get anywhere else, anywhere in the world, except for our cameras on explore.org. No other orcas in the area do this either. So it's really kind of unique to the northern resident orcas. It's a tradition taught to young orcas in these pods by their family members. Scientists are unsure why orcas rub on rocks. We can't discount that there's some skin grooming involved. Yet Dr. Paul Spong, the founder of Orca Lab, has described the rubbing beaches as fun houses for the whales. They are vocalizing heavily when they're doing it. They're socializing. It really does seem like they're enjoying it. So the behavior at the rubbing beaches indicates that there's more involved than a simple grooming or utilitarian purpose. The northern resident orcas of Clan A are the whales that use Strider Rubbing Beach. They are also a group that endured capture and removal of some of their family members in the 1960s and 1970s for placement in wildlife theme parks. Members of the southern resident whales were captured in the United States for the same reason around the same time, and their populations have been in decline ever since. So the southern resident whales are really in trouble right now. They've endured steep drops, or experienced, excuse me, steep drops in their populations since the 1970s. And their food sources, the salmon that they rely on to eat, have declined as well. And that really poses a significant barrier to their recovery. Orcas used to be considered monsters that would attack and kill people without cause. They are skilled hunters, no doubt, but they've never targeted people. They don't war with other cultures of their kind, which certainly contrasts sharply with humans. When we see orcas on Exploded.org, we're watching families with rich cultures in family lives. Culture in non-human animals helps those species adapt to local conditions and persevere through its challenges. More and more, protecting biodiversity means going beyond merely ensuring a species' survival. It also means protecting culture and diversity in wildlife. And we want to thank Orca Lab for continuing to partner with us for a glimpse into the lives of these amazing animals. Go check out the Orca Lab cams right now.
Definitely. That's amazing. And learning more, I didn't realize that the different behaviors could be between different clans and pods, like eating different food. But all I can really think of now, because I never thought about it before, is the orcas' vocalizations having different accents from different groups. So, and I actually wanted to check out more about this, like see if there was a way I could hear the different variations. And of course, Orca Lab made it super easy. They actually have an app now called Say Orca, where you can hear the different vocalizations from various clans. So that was pretty cool to check out. But speaking of intelligent wildlife that we can learn from, let's transition over to some bear cam Q&A. Mike, there's never seemed to be enough opportunity to answer all these questions. So I know you'd like to answer some now. So the first one we have is from Jill. And they say on August 26, 27, bears were digging off the spit for something. Clams, something else. It appears to be a lot of effort for clams. If so, is there something special in their nutrition, or bears just like them?
Yeah, we noticed that on the cams, there was plenty of bears investigating a spot at the mouth of Brooks River. So before I get to that, though, let's talk about bears and clams. Bears do dig for clams on Katmai's Pacific coast and elsewhere along coastal Alaska. So these are Pacific razor clams. And bears will dig for them in areas where there are outgoing tides. And these tides expose mudflats where razor clams can be found. Not all bears do this, and there's evidence that clamming is less common among bears on Katmai's coast than it was 20 to 30 years ago. But razor clams can still be an important high-protein food source for certain bears. So it's one of those seasons that's available pretty early in the season as well. These photographs I took in Katmai's Hallow Bay. I took these in June, early June of one year. So a mother bear with some pretty small young spring cubs out there enjoying some clam meals. So yeah, clams can be a really nutritional food source for certain bears. Brooks River, though, empties into a freshwater lake, Naknek Lake. Brooks River is more than 60 water miles from the tidal flats of Bristol Bay. So there are from, and then also about 60 miles from Katmai's Pacific coast. So there are no clams at Brooks River that would attract a bear's attention. It's just too far inland. But the question remains, what was attracting their attention at the river mouth? We know that bears are curious. Curiosity is a hallmark characteristic of brown bears. They also possess an exceptional sense of smell. Most anything that has a novel odor will attract their attention. We saw multiple bears investigating the same place at the river mouth. This is just one example. We also know that this is a place where the National Park Service, where Brooks Lodge staff, and sometimes private citizens will park their boats. I suspect that something was spilled in that spot, and then the bears just found it interesting. Maybe it could have been a little bit of gasoline, could have been something else. I'm only speculating. We don't know what was there, but even a small amount of something uniquely smelly would excite the curiosity of many bears. Before, of course, anyone gets mad at this, I want to emphasize to you that you can't dispose of gasoline or anything except plain water on the ground at Brooks River. So if that is the case, it probably was just an accident. I'm not excusing it, of course, even if it was just like a really small amount of something, but it's not likely to be a threat to the bears. It was just something that sort of attracted their curiosity. And that's the main point that I want to emphasize, is that bears are curious. Curiosity normally works to a bear's advantage. It helps them discover new foods and enriches their mental life. When humans stimulate a bear's curiosity, however, it can lead to trouble for the bear if they learn that we either have food or simply fun things to investigate. We want bears to express curiosity toward the non-human world. So if you live and work in bear country, then please remember that even petroleum products are interesting to bears. Don't leave those things outside. Keep those secured in a locked building to avoid giving bears the temptation to showcase their investigative skills.
Yeah, definitely. Makes a lot of sense. Our next question is dealing with salmon and comes from Francine. It says, someone mentioned that many fishes have white spots on them. It was called, I assume, ICH fungus. Is it true? And if yes, can it affect the bears?
I had to do some investigation about what is specifically the cause of that white fungus that we see on the fish. So ICH, sometimes pronounced just ick, is is a protozoan. At least in some of the books that I've read, it's a protozoan, and I'm going to try to pronounce the genus of this, Ichthyophtheresis. I feel bad for our closed captioner for this segment. There's going to be a lot of weird words to spell here, but yeah, that's a protozoan that can affect a wide range of fish. It can be really a problem in aquariums and in like fish farms, for example. The white spots that we see on salmon in Brooks River, however, like this sockeye salmon here, are caused by water molds. In a group of organisms, Uomycetes, of the order Saprolegnia. These organisms used to be classified as a fungus, but are currently separated taxonomically from fungi right now. So they used to be a fungus. Now taxonomists are like, nah, they're not fungus. Water molds, they're not protozoans. They're kind of like their own thing. They're not a fungus. They're their own thing. They infect areas of skin that are damaged on salmon. Bears don't seem to prefer to eat these fish, although they sometimes target them, maybe because they're easier to see in the water. I'm unsure if water mold infections reduce spawning success for the fish, but it's pretty common to see them late in the summer. So, when we're, especially like on a river watch camera, for example, like right here, looking down into the water, you see those kind of white spots on many or several of the salmon. Those are the water molds. Many of the sockeye salmon at Brooks River have been in fresh water for 6 weeks by now, and they've survived this entire time without eating. Salmon do not eat once they enter fresh water. Upstream of migration and spawning represent the most energetically stressful time in a salmon's life. On top of that, salmon do not survive spawning. They die after they reproduce. So they're especially susceptible to infections because all of their energy is concentrated on spawning. They're just at greater risk for infections. The stress experienced by them is significant. They don't put energy into healing their injuries, and their immune systems are compromised right now. So they are enduring a lot, and the endurance that they display to overcome all of the stress that they encounter and all the obstacles in their way to succeed when spawning is exceptional. But this really does come at a cost. We often see that manifest in the growth of water mold. So if you're ever wondering about those white spots on the fish, that's what it is. You can just call it a water mold.
Huh. Very interesting. Really goes to show how truly extraordinary the salmon are. And our next question has to do with, of course, Otis. Simon says, I know that we haven't seen Otis since 2023 and that he is an old bear at this point, but he still managed to put on some solid size. Is there just a chance that he might be elsewhere in the last 2 seasons, or is there a chance that he might not have survived a winter? He is the OG and my favorite, as many people's favorites. Would love to know if the old guy is still trundling around somewhere.
Yeah, we've been getting a ton of questions about this summer. We haven't talked too much about Otis on the cams this year because he hasn't been seen this year. And I'll get to the story, maybe some background behind that in just a little bit. But there was also a Bear Cam viewer question from somebody named Mike, not me, different Mike. But Otis or Mike really got to the point. He just wrote in, "Did Otis die?" So I think that a lot of people are kind of wondering about Otis's status. We know that Otis was first identified at Brooks River as an older subadult or young adult bear in 2001. And that placed him around 5 to 6 years old at that time, and about 27 to 28 years old when we last saw him in 2023. So this is Otis in September 2023. So I think almost like 2 years ago to the day. So today is September 8th, 2025. So this is taken around the same time frame in 2023. And in case you're not familiar with Otis, he was the most patient angler I've ever seen. He was also a highly skilled angler, and people around the world admired him for his work ethic. He just concentrated on getting his job done, which was eating fish. And we could recognize him easily, too, by his face and ears, which made him really a great example or introductory bear that new viewers could get to know. People tuned into the cameras, and they're like, I can't tell any bear apart. We'd be just like, hey, look at this bear, Otis. And they'd be like, oh, yeah, okay. And then every time they came back, they could see Otis and get to know him and some of the other bears afterwards. Unfortunately, we didn't see Otis at all in 2024. There have been no sightings of him in 2025 either. Last year was the first summer that he was never seen at Brooks River. So the question remains, might he have found some other place to make a living? I can't eliminate the possibility. Bears can and do change their habits. After all, Katmai National Park is about the size of Connecticut. So it's a very large area with a lot of space for bears to roam. However, I think it's highly improbable that Otis is making a living elsewhere since he used Brooks River every year of his adult life until 2024. The average lifespan of a wild brown bear is about 20 years. So it's not like Otis was exactly a young guy. Otis exceeded the average lifespan by many years. So he was an old bear by the last time we saw him. And Otis was so regular in his habits that his prolonged absence suggests to me that he is deceased. I don't think this really takes away from anything that Otis means to us. Otis was unique and special. He was an ambassador for his species. Yet let's remember that other bears deserve the same opportunities to thrive as him. So I want to emphasize that we can honor the memory of Otis by making sure that Katmai's habitat remains protected, including Doing things like making sure that Congress provides proper funding for the National Park Service, which is the agency that manages Katmai National Park on behalf of the American people. We need to support sustainable fisheries like the Bristol Bay salmon fishery so that communities surrounding Katmai can thrive without development like mining that would be harmful to salmon that feed bears. Importantly, we must continue to tackle climate change. No matter how well we protect Katmai's physical landscape for bears like Otis, salmon that feed the bears need healthy oceans to thrive. And climate change poses the greatest long-term threat to survival in the North Pacific. So I know a lot of people have been wondering about Otis, who don't know where he is. I personally think it's likely that he is deceased, but there's lots of ways for us to honor his memory by making sure that bears have the opportunity to thrive in Katmai and beyond.
Well said. And I think those are our pre-submitted questions. Mike, if you'd like to take on some live questions now.
Yeah, we do have a few live questions that came in, and there's a chance for anyone maybe to get in a last minute question as well. So drop those in here while I'm answering the first two. TYRUO99 wrote in and asked, Mike, what is your initial reaction to the incident last night between 164 and 503? So what they're asking about is, I think, an altercation between two of the largest adult male bears at Brooks River, number 164 and 503. To be honest, everybody, I haven't watched it yet. I've been busy preparing for this program, and it happened when I was asleep last night. It happened pretty late in my day since I'm on the East Coast of North America. But I plan to watch it today, look at it tomorrow as well, and I think maybe it'll be part of our Bear Cam play-by-play that we have scheduled for 4 p.m. Eastern Time, 1 p.m. Pacific tomorrow. And you can check that out on the Brooks live chat channel. So stay tuned for that. Sorry for the little bit of a teaser, but I'm not going to opine on anything that I haven't seen. So I'm going to avoid doing that. I know that's the way of the internet, though, Brian, where I was like, what do you think about this? I'm like, well, I don't know. So I'm just going to kind of leave it at that for now.
That's great. It's always acceptable. I don't know is still a great answer.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite answers. And it's one of those things I always rip on politicians for not answering in that way. But you like almost never, it's like never hear a politician say, I don't know. Like I would love to hear a politician say that one time. They don't do it. I don't know why. And it's not a fault. I don't think it's a personal fault at all. I think it's a great answer when you don't know. Anyway, let's move on from that. I can stop ranting about politicians. For now. Terry J wrote in and asked, is there a brown bear app similar to Say Orca? I just got the Say Orca app. Thank you for sharing. Not yet. The closest thing that we have is sort of like the collective mind of the Bear Cam audience. So things like the Bear Cam wiki that is community maintained. Really, I don't play any role in what goes on the wiki. That's just a dedicated group of Bear Cam fans that put in, I don't know how many hundreds or thousands of hours by now to maintain the Bear Cam wiki. There's a Bear ID book that hasn't been updated in a few years, but hopefully, park rangers will be getting around to updating that sooner rather than later. And then also just asking, questions in the Bear Cam chats. I think that's one of the better ways to learn. And I learn a ton from the Bear Cam audience because I can't watch 24/7. So the Bear Cam fans are often alerting me to things that they found interesting, relationships between different bears, for instance, that seem to go on, whether that's friendly or antagonistic, something like that. But I do think there is a way to perhaps in the future develop an app for brown bear ID at Brooks River. I actually did think about this when I was a ranger at Katmai. You kind of develop sort of a dichotomous key for bears. You can be like, hey, what are you looking at? You think you're looking at a male or a female, or you're looking at a bear with blonde ears, and then the app can kind of throw you out different options. Or a scar on the butt. This bear has a great butt, no scars on it. So really that would be one of those things where you could put on all these different characteristics and it would spit out sort of like likely candidates for you. And then also maybe in the near future, there's an opportunity to use, machine learning and artificial intelligence to identify bears because bears are fairly distinctive, especially brown bears, in their facial features, their body shapes and size, their coat color, things like that. So check out the Bear ID project if you want to learn more about that. I know that's one of those things that they've been working on for several years. So thanks for those audience questions. We always try to answer as many audience questions as we can during our Bear Cam live events. Unfortunately, Brian, we never have time to answer them all, but I do appreciate everybody's questions.
Yeah, definitely. And I want to also share, like Mike mentioned, the play-by-plays is a great time to answer questions. We do have another one tomorrow, but usually take pre-submitted questions, so definitely submit them on the Ask Your Bear Cam question form, and hopefully you can see your answer get questioned in one of the play-by-plays. We have 2 this week, one tomorrow, Tuesday, and another one on Thursday, but we'll see more about that in a little bit. But Mike, we do also have the big finale of the season coming up, Fat Bear Week. So when is Fat Bear Week this year?
Yeah, we can finally say when it is. This year, it's going to be earlier than it's ever been. So everything is going to happen in September this year. We're going to have our Fat Bear Junior bracket reveal on September 17. And then Fat Bear Junior itself, sort of like the lead-up event to Fat Bear Week, is September 18 and 19. And Fat Bear Junior is just for the Cubs. So first-year Cubs, second-year Cubs, third-year Cubs are going to be in that. And then the winner gets tossed into the main Fat Bear Week tournament. Our bracket reveal for Fat Bear Week is going to be September 22nd. And then the voting for Fat Bear Week is going to be September 23rd to 30th. So note this year it's going to be a Tuesday to Tuesday thing. Everything's going to be in September. Everything's just kind of moved up a week earlier. I'm looking forward to it. There's a lot of work for Brian and I, and of course, everyone at Explore.org and the staff of the Katmai Conservancy, and especially the rangers at Katmai National Park. But the Bears, Brian, are looking super fat this year. I think there's going to be a lot of tough choices.
100%. I mean, we had a great salmon run this year with an unprecedented amount of salmon jumping. So bears are well fed, and I'm excited to see how fat they're actually going to get come Fat Bear Week. Though, as I'm excited for Fat Bear Week as everyone else, a lot of preparations happening behind the scenes. But we do have one final egg watch to get to celebrate our feathered friends.
That's right. Welcome to the September 8, 2025 edition of Egg Watch on Explore.org. Our list of bird nests has shrunk down to basically just one with chicks in the nest, and we'll get to that one last. Since we last hosted a More to Explore program, we've had our osprey fledge. So the Charlo osprey nest in Charlo, Montana. Charlie and Lola successfully raised their chicks there. 2 of them fledged first week of August, and thanks to the Owl Research Institute for partnering with us on that cam. And then the Chesapeake Osprey in Kent Island, Maryland, with Tom and Audrey, they had their chicks leave the nest first week of August as well. So congratulations to them. And I think the parents of the ospreys really are ready for the chicks to leave the nest, because they can, as you saw in that clip, great clip, they can barely land without the chicks trying to rip their foot off as they deliver food. So yeah, our ospreys fledged, but you can maybe still tune in to these nests and see some of the fledged young hanging out. So they could still be in the vicinity. And then heading to Seal Island with the Audubon Seabird Institute and our partner there. The last nest that we were looking at on Seal Island was the Black Guillemot, and that chick fledged overnight on August 11 and 12. So yeah, great to see the success there in our Guillemot burrow. The final nest, though, that we're watching in our Egg Watch segment happens to be our African black eagle. Also, that species also known as the Verreaux's eagle. Incubation, began in early May, and then this chick hatched from their egg June 12 or 13. But we're on fledge watch right now. It really could happen any moment. So if it's daylight hours, be watching this cam for this eaglet to take their first flight. There's kind of a lower nest that they had this that the adults here had utilized in the past, and they've kind of built on top of that. So there's more nesting platform available for this eaglet to utilize. So sometimes it disappears from the camera. I'm not sure if it's actually taken flight yet or not. But they are in the nest for a long time, 84 to 99 days on average. So really, we're looking for like this bird to leave the nest for good any minute now. So thanks to the Salati Wilderness Foundation and Africam for partnering with us to bring us a glimpse into the lives of this bird species across the Atlantic from where I am located. And that's it for Egg Watch 2025. Thanks to everybody for who's been keeping track of these birds and letting us know what's been going on. And lots of bird action on all of our cameras throughout the year too. So be sure to go to explore.org anytime if you want to check out the birds that we have on explore.org.
Definitely. And there's just like today, we're reaching the end of our episode, but there's so much more to see. And sticking on the theme of the Africa cameras, we do have our regular Africam shows, which definitely check them out. We have the Africam show tomorrow, Tuesday at 7 a.m. Pacific, and then the Wild Moment show Thursday at 7 a.m. And as far as bear cam events, we have all kinds of events coming up. This is the month for it, including you can still participate in the Fat Bear campaign poster contest. You can submit a poster for campaigning for your bear that you want to win. Here's some examples from last year. So definitely participate in that. You can do it until tomorrow. And next week, September 10 through 15, we will be voting on your favorite ones. And as far as bear cam events, we have our usuals and some new ones. Later today at 2 p.m. Pacific, we have the Brooks Falls YouTube chat Q&A. If you have more questions, ask in that chat today. Also, like we mentioned before, we have 2 play-by-plays, one tomorrow at 1 p.m. Pacific and another on Thursday at 2 p.m. Pacific. And then Wednesdays is our Bear Cam live chat days, where this week will be a bear management at Brooks Camp. And then on Fridays, we have our Explore Bear Cam live chat on the Brooks Falls page on explore.org. So again, thank you for joining us today. Be sure to join us again for our next episode on September 22nd. That's also the same day as the bracket reveal for Fat Bear Week. So we're doing a special episode of all about Fat Bear Week. So being able to figure out how to vote and all of the good stuff that you need to know for it. So that's all the time we have for today. Please join me in thanking all of the moderators and camera operators for all the magic that they do. And of course, my co-host, Mike Fitz. And until we see you again, happy exploring.